Don't forget to log on to TBSSuperstation.com during today's coverage of the Pennsylvania 500. Got all the in-car cameras up there for you. That's TBSSuperstation.com. 51 laps complete in the event. Now let's go downstairs to Ken Squire and Jerry Glanville.
I've got 127.5 miles done here, Jerry. And you've got Wallace and Mayfield up in front out of the same racing stable, looking very strong right now.
Well, you know, in qualifying, I went down to turn 1 just to see who drove it in the deepest, and it was Wallace was the deepest. And guess who was standing next to me? Michael Kranofis. He was down there to watch Mayfield, and Mayfield took it into turn 1, the second deepest. So there they are, sitting in 1-2 spot.
But that's what they were checking to see who went the furthest down on that 14-degree banking. There you see them, first and second at the present time, with Jeff Gordon maintaining third. And just behind them, Ricky Rudd into number 28, running in fourth. And there's quite a story developed on Rudd's car in the past couple of days.
Well, it was funny. Ricky Rudd, after happy hour, they were not happy with the Robert Yates motor. They said, it doesn't feel like a Yates motor. So this morning at 8 o'clock in car number 28, they put a brand new Yates motor in there. And I bet they're glad they did that now.
It's just staying there. Looks like he's stabilized and wants just to hang on to these front three guys. He's been running 4th, 5th, and 6th for some time. There you see Jeff Burton in the number 99, who's also having a good ride thus far this afternoon.
And Jeff Burton, he's in a Roush car, and as we sit here and watch these people shift, the Roush motors shift first. So they have...
Now, when you say they shift first, up here at the start line, you mean?
Yeah, at the start-finish line, they're the first ones to shift. So that tells me they're not taking them to the high RPMs that the other motors are going to.
A lot of them are shifting about 500 to 600 feet beyond the start-finish line. And yesterday, in the training periods, morning and the happy hour, you could see them working very hard to try to find just the right spot. And then they marshal their troops, and they all seem to hit the same spot.
And one thing about the Roush motor, they got the low torque. So the Roush motor torques it off, and they shift early.
Take a look at Steve Park running here in 6th. That car number 1 looking for a good day. It hasn't had many this season. And following him is Jarrett in the 88. And remember, he has only won once this year in that number 88 and hoping to make some ground today in that point standing battle. Up in front, coming into today, Bobby Labonte, and Earnhardt was the story there, closing to 45 points in second place. And he's back in 17th right now and closing up on the field. Another guy I'm really impressed by is Matt Kenseth. He stays right around 10th or 11th with that number 17. You're riding with the leaders down this 3,700-foot straightaway, longest one in Winston Cup racing, up on the 14-degree banking. And here's Tony Stewart in. Stewart making a surprise stop on pit road.
Well, they're doing the, we can see outside tires and getting the windshield. I don't know if they're going to do 4 tires, but he's had a vibration in that car all day.
The pole sitter set a new record for this race in qualifying. On pit road, left side's coming on to Tony Stewart's car. One of the last cars to attempt qualifying. And the weather had cooled just a little. A slight shower had rolled across the Pocono Mountains. Now he's rolling back out on the pit road, but he'll come from the rear of the field. And right now, when you talk about rear of the field, you're talking about 39 cars in the lead lap.
And you can see him coming out here, Ken. He's going to have to hustle because here comes Wallace bearing down on him. And look at Wallace and Mayfield. 2 guys that will take it into turn 1 as deep as anybody here. There's the downshift after he slowed the car down. He will not downshift to slow the car down.
Use the brake all the way going in. Let's go to Mike Hogwood on pit road.
The problem with Tony Stewart, he felt that he might have a tire going down. It was getting very, very loose. They told him to come in, and it was the right rear tire. Indeed, it was getting flat. That's the reason for the stop for Tony Stewart.
So he is on the tail end of the lead lap, and it's going to be fun to watch him try to cut the mustard as he fights his way back through the field. What about the first part of this race, Jerry? They're launching engines out here like Frisbees in the park on the Sunday afternoon, 3 in about the first 100 miles.
Well, I think what you have to do is qualify with your light crank. But if you really want to finish this race, they're going to have to go back to heavy interior parts. And that means a heavier crank so you can finish the race.
So Stewart runs on the tail end of the lead lap, and just about 25 car lengths behind, here come those leaders, those Fords of Wallace and Mayfield. Behind them, Gordon. Then you have Rudd, Burton, and Clark in the top 6. Dale Jarrett line there, and Benson in the number 28, sustaining the 8th position.
And one thing, we're watching Mayfield here. Kranifis told me yesterday the difference in this race team is one guy, and that's the driver. They said Mayfield now not only has confidence, he has the right to direct the crew on how to correct the car. He didn't have that before. He's the only guy that can make a correction on the car, and they think Mayfield has really grown into something special.
So what does that mean? Did they change the crew chief or something?
Yeah, they changed the crew chief because Mayfield had to call the shot to get the car like he liked it. And Michael Kranifis says Mayfield knows by the seat of his pants what the car needs, and he says, I feel we wasted 3 years. Now we're on the right track.
And he knows by the seat of his pants how to move around turn 4 and move the Intimidator out of first spot as we saw in June. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Back at Pocono Raceway, this was just a moment ago. Third position about to change hands. Ricky Rudd continues his march toward the front.
As he goes by Jeff Gordon down, he just had a great run up out of the corner there, coming down through the third turn. You can see down the front straightaway, great horsepower.
And the leader continues to be Rusty Wallace, with Rudd and Gordon trying to close in on he and Jeremy Mayfield, and Wallace coming up on the back bumper of Tony Stewart. As Stewart made that green flag pit stop we showed you a moment ago. And Tony runs right now in 39th position.
Rusty's going to have to pit in about 10 laps. They just told him over the radios. So Stewart's in a pretty good position here, at least potentially. That may not be as disastrous as it looked at the beginning, because if everybody else in the lead lap has to pit coming up shortly, it could be all right for him.
Alan, the car that's flying up through the field right now is Ricky Rudd. That black car that just went by there, he is picking them up, putting them down, and he knows how to get around this racetrack. Never has won here, but he's been second 3 times.
And finished third here after some damage in an incident with another car in the race at Pocono 5 weeks ago. So 60 laps are complete now in this Pennsylvania 500. That puts us at the 150-mile mark. And kind of the general broad scope of the picture is we've had a number of engine failures in the early going that have taken out John Andretti, Sterling Marlin, and Mark Martin. And we've had, through those cautions, some different people playing some different pit strategies. Everybody pitted at lap 26. Then under caution on lap 36, a number chose to top off the fuel. Dale Earnhardt included in that group. And then at lap 41, under the third caution, Bill Elliott, Michael Waltrip, Brett Bodine, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin LePage, Rick Mast, Ted Musgrave, Dale Earnhardt, Chad Little, Schrader, Rich Bickle driving Terry Labonte's car, Mike Bliss, Kyle Petty, and Stacy Compton all came in and took fuel. Those cars I just kind of ran you through are going to be able to run for a little while longer. The other front runners like Wallace and Mayfield and Rudd, we expect to see on pit road in about the next 7 laps. Pit stops coming up when we come back to Pocono. Rusty Wallace leads the Pennsylvania 500 presented by America Online. Play free fantasy auto racing at cnnsi.com. Get into high gear and race your way to big prizes. cnnsi.com, the ultimate address in sports. 64 laps of 200 complete in the Pennsylvania 500 presented by America Online. A new second-place runner, Ricky Rudd, has just gotten around Jeremy Mayfield. As Mayfield washed way wide down in turn number 1. So Rudd to second, Mayfield to third, behind leader Rusty Wallace, as we close in on green flag pit stops for the leaders. Another look back at that pass.
Going down, you can see the 12 car washing out there. Ricky Rudd gets back in the throttle really hard coming out of turn 1 and just motors right on by. Ricky Rudd by far is the quickest car on the racetrack at the moment.
Well, tires are getting tired now. We're getting close to the pit stops, and this is where it tells who can run well in a long run and who can't. Rudd is one who has proven himself in that department. He is very good on long runs.
Looking back at the interval between Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd on the stopwatch, that is 1.002 seconds. That's what it looks like here at Pocono. You can see the white nose of Jeremy Mayfield's Ford back there in third as they come off turn 3 and sweep down the front straightaway by the main, come off turn 2 and down the short stretch to turn 3. A little farther back, you can kind of barely make out Jeff Gordon Chevrolet, 4th in line, and 5th place Jeff Burton. Kind of a little perspective there on how the top 5 run. There's Dale Jarrett, way back in 6th place. He's a good 3-4 seconds behind 5th place Jeff Burton. There's the look ahead from DJ's driving seat. the back deck. Looking towards 7th place, Steve Park, and 8th place, Johnny Benson.
Well, it's a nice run for Benson in an unsponsored race car. Doesn't know if he's going to go much beyond this. Their team has just been purchased. He certainly has this race, obviously, but Brickyard next time may be it for that team for the year.
Mayfield dropping back. Jeff Gordon went by him just a second ago to take over third.
And Mayfield needs that pit stop.
Yeah, and it's coming up very shortly. On the upper left, the numbers you see on the right are the distance in seconds behind the race leader. The drivers are on the racetrack. On the lead lap, just about everybody. All the way back to 38th spot, Tony Stewart, as Mayfield's about to lose another position. Handling really falling off on his car as they close in on the pit stop.
Alan, they reported earlier in the race he's really good on fresh rubber, new tires on the race car, but as it starts to go away and the tires get hot, the race car loses a lot of grip coming out of the corner. The back is extremely loose on that car.
Rusty Wallace has just heard, as has Mayfield, next time by, come on in.
And Wallace and Mayfield get some of the poorer, I guess is the right word. I was trying to think if I wanted to be that harsh, but poorer fuel mileage of any team out here.
Yeah.
They get the horsepower.
They get the power.
I was just going to say, 800 horses eat a lot.
Yeah, but they get some of the poorer fuel mileage, and so they will be the first to make a move to pit road under the green flag.
Whoa!
Not going to be this time.
No, Rusty was very loose, though, as he entered the straightaway there, just out of turn 3 there. He got completely sideways.
Here comes Jeremy Mayfield. This will be at lap number 68. Mayfield led earlier in the day from laps 4 to 13, again at laps 16 and 17. Now he gives up 4th position on the racetrack for a pit stop. And he rolls along at the 55-mile-an-hour pit road speed limit. Robert Presley also in. Scott Pruitt is in. Wally Dallenbach was just on pit road under the green. Let's cover the Jeremy Mayfield stop.
And Jeremy has really struggled of late. The car is getting tighter the longer it runs. It started to get tight early in that run, and it got worse the longer he went. They're going to loosen him up with some wedge and a track bar adjustment. They have decided now to forego the track bar adjustment. It will be 4 tires. He was very happy with the car, especially at the first part of that run. And remember, we told you earlier, they knew they would be good at the beginning of a run. They were worried about the late part of a run. 18.7 on Jeremy Mayfield's stop.
A little bit long there on the stop for Mayfield's team. Now, here come Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd, Jeff Gordon, and Jeff Burton, all going to pit together. So the first, second, third, and fourth place cars after the Mayfield stop all come in. Mike Massaro.
And Ricky Rudd now in his pit stall, hits his marks absolutely perfect. Crew Chief Michael McSwain calling this stop. The car's been extremely good on long runs. It looks like it's going to be 4 tires and fuel. Just a standard stop for the Texaco team, getting those last drops of 76 Racing Fuel in. He's down off the Jackson, back out on the racetrack, 18.2 to Mike Hogwood.
And Rusty Wallace with a great pit stop, took on 4 tires fuel, made a slight wedge adjustment. He is happy with the car. He's down and away.
Almost got tangled up with Ward Burton as Rusty was leaving. Ward coming in. That's going to cost somebody.
Yeah.
Steve Park's team chasing a loose tire. That'll be a penalty for Park. Truman's Who's going to win the race there? All right. We have to send him over to Sydney for our Olympic team.
You know, it's a good thing there weren't a bunch of race cars coming down pit road when he went out chasing that tire.
Remember, the rule is if you let a tire roll across pit road, you'll have to come back in for a stop-and-go penalty. More pit stops. Johnny Benson is in. Matt Kenseth's coming in. Jerry Nadeau's coming in. We've also had Dale Jarrett, Steve Park, Joe Nemechek, and Ward Burton on the pit lane. There's Nadeau ducking to his stall at the back of the picture as Benson moves toward his stop. Johnny running now after the other cars pitted up in 3rd position. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
And what a terrific run for Johnny Benson. He is running in 8th. The car's a little bit tight. They make a wedge adjustment, try and loosen him up. That should help him both getting in and off the corners. Matt Kenseth is pitting right behind Johnny Benson. Kenseth also a little bit tight. He is running in the 9th spot. Good runs for both of these guys. Benson now down in the way. 17.5 on the stop for Johnny Benson.
Kenseth leading as well. Here's a look at what happened on the Steve Park car. There it is. It's going out. Did Dale Jarrett hit it on his way out?
I think he did snag it, and of course he started to go get it, and then they said, go back and get that tire. So he goes down through there sprinting, and these guys are pretty good athletes. They work out about 4 days a week, the pit crew guys do.
Here's Bobby Labonte, the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship leader, into the pits. He did lead a lap when everybody else peeled off, collected 5 bonus points toward the title. Now Labonte in for his service.
Made a slight adjustment there, took a roundabout out of the left rear.
It's a bit of a surprise to take a bite out of the left rear at this point. This racetrack is not noted for that, especially.
If you ever want to know whether they're taking it in or putting it in or taking it out, clockwise is putting bite in the car. Counterclockwise, of course, takes it out.
Now, remember, we talked about some drivers topping off the fuel. At the end of the last caution we had, well, those drivers have now cycled to the head of the class, and that is your leader,
And all
Dale
he needs,
Earnhardt.
All he needs is a caution flag.
Yeah.
In a few more laps.
Earnhardt leads. Bill Elliott is second. Dave Blaney is third. Fourth is Bobby Hamilton. And Jimmy Spencer is fifth. This in the middle of the cycle of stops. Sixth is Rick Mast. Mike Skinner is seventh. Earnhardt Jr. is eighth. Elliott Sadler is ninth. And Chad Little rounds out your top 10. So there's the interval first to second. Earnhardt and then Bill Elliott as they approach the tunnel turn.
When you see that tape on the front of the car there kind of blowing around there, nothing to worry about, folks. That's the way they tape them off. And if it starts running hot, that's the part that they'll pull away.
And they should be able to run another 10 laps before they have to pit if we don't see a caution flag. So Earnhardt out in front, 2.5 seconds ahead of Bill Elliott, 72 of 200 laps complete in the Pennsylvania 500, presented by America Online, live on Superstation TBS. At Pocono under caution in the Pennsylvania 500, up in turn 3. That's Mike Bliss in the center of Jeff Gordon and Stacy Compton.
3 don't fit in that place up there. You can see Mike
No,
Bliss
they don't.
going round there. Very lucky that nobody else got involved.
No, they don't. As a matter of fact, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody successfully race 3 wide off that corner.
Well, Jeff Gordon was on the bottom. He certainly couldn't go anywhere, and Stacy Compton was just caught on the outside there, and they made contact, he and Bliss, and around went Bliss.
So caution is out. This is the 4th yellow flag, and the pace car picking up leader Dale Earnhardt. I don't think the caution is a particular hindrance to anyone because it doesn't appear that anybody was caught a lap down through the pit stops that they made a moment ago. But it will allow Earnhardt and Bill Elliott and Dave Blaney and so on to stop and kind of get back in sync. Almost a free pass. They make their pit stop under the caution flag.
Yeah, they do that, but Earnhardt, just talking to his crew on the radio, said that he really didn't need it just then. They really would have liked to have that caution occur a few laps down the road when everybody had it together. This time, those fellas who had pit earlier, they're the ones who are going to be all by themselves on pit road, most likely.
Now, if you're the crew chief of the guys who did just stop under the green, you've got an interesting choice. Do you come back in and get a few more, another gallon or two of fuel, or do you stay out and take the track position? Because now you're behind Earnhardt and Elliott and all those other guys. So, for example, Rusty Wallace, he's in 18th position right now. Does he stay out and move up to the lead when everybody else pits, or does he come in and top off the fuel tank?
That's why the crew chiefs are so well paid. those are really tough decisions, and they very often make the difference between winning and losing one of these races. It's not just getting the race car to go fast and having a great driver and great pit stops. It's strategy. Earnhardt's strategy, pit for fuel and 4.
Well, let's see.
Bill Elliott's coming in with him. Dave Blaney just behind there.
The front 17 are going to pit, and it looks like Jeff Burton is going to stay out. Rusty is going to come in. Gordon's going to come in. Rudd's going to come in. As you look at the top 3 at the caution flag making their pit stops. Marty Snyder.
And Dale Earnhardt is in. He is just a little bit tight. They debated on an air pressure adjustment. They decided not to make the air pressure adjustment. 4 tires and fuel only for Dale Earnhardt. Bill Elliott is also in. He is also tight. They are going to make an air pressure adjustment. Down 1 pound on the right front for Bill Elliott. 4 tires for Bill Elliott. 16.2 on the stop.
Good work there by Elliott's team, a 15-8.
A lot of conversation on the radio between Rusty and his crew as to whether to stay out or go in, and at the absolute last second, Rusty said they're all going in, they're all going in. He chose to go in. They took just 2 tires. Almost everybody else took 4.
So you see Rudd and Rusty coming off pit lane now. Staying on the racetrack were Jeff Burton. And let's see, who else is still out there? We've got Dale Jarrett stayed out. Steve Park stayed out. Benson, Bobby Labonte, Matt Kenseth. Those drivers stayed out, and about everybody else came down pit road and got a top off of the fuel, if you will, and most another set of tires. Now, on the last pit stop, the green stop we showed you a minute ago for Steve Park, we showed that tire getting away from his team. I want you to watch on the right side of your screen as Dale Jarrett leaves his pit. There it is, Jarrett hitting the tire from Steve Park's car. Mike Hogwood has more on that for us. Mike?
And because Jarrett's car hit the tire, there was no penalty assessed on the Steve Park team. They looked at the tapes, did NASCAR, and decided that was just a pure accident. So the rule about the new tire rule did not go into effect as far as giving the Steve Park team a penalty.
And the reason that it was not a problem for Jarrett hitting that tire, as far as the rule is concerned, is because the tire was back around the car.
Right.
The rule is that if you draw a line through the center of the pit box, when the crew leaves the right side of the car, all the tires have to be on the inside of that center line. And the tire was on Park's car. It still got hit, but it was on the inside of that line. Looking ahead from Jeff Burton's car at the cause of the caution flag. It's right in front of him.
Oh
boy.
Gordon gets into the 27 there. Good old
Wow.
replays.
Wow. And Burton, of all things, is the leader. Staying out on the racetrack under the caution flag. Let's take a break and come back to the restart in a moment. TBS's coverage of the Pennsylvania 500 presented by America Online. Coming to you live this afternoon from Eastern Pennsylvania. Note the right front fender on the Jeff Gordon car. Come back to that in just a second. First, why didn't Jeff Burton stop on this caution flag and top off the fuel like about everybody else did? Marty Snyder has a report.
Well, let's ask his crew chief, Frank Stoddard. Frankie, why not pit?
Well, track position, we'd been running fourth and fifth most of the day in the Excite car, and Jeff done a great job, but really, we only had 4 laps on our tires. Fuel mileage wasn't much of an issue. It may be a little bit of an issue if it goes green from here, but I was going to take that gamble.
He's had a good car all day long, and track position so key these days. Let's go to Mike Massaro.
Well, guys, Robbie Bloom is sitting atop the pit box, and Jeff Gordon involved in that last altercation. Robbie, how significant was the damage on the car?
That's not real bad. The worst part is we banged in the right front fender a little bit. The guys got it out pretty good on that pit stop. Might have to work on it a little bit more, but we'll be in good shape. Let's see what we got here.
Guys, on the last pit stop, they checked the right side, pulled away a bit of the fender, and changed right side tires.
The good part about the contact they had, just a little black mark just in front of the tire there, and just behind the tire is where that actual contact was. So I don't think it hurt the front end of the car that much.
I want you to look at the way that left front fender goes straight down, though, by the tire.
Yeah.
And then when we get a look at the right front fender again, the very lower corner of it there at the front of the wheel is kind of kinked in. These cars are so finely tuned aerodynamically that could, see how the right front, the lower part of that's kinked in a little bit? We'll see how that plays out.
I think you'll be okay there.
We'll come back for the restart.
The Pennsylvania 500, presented by America Online on the Superstation. Brought to you by the motor oil that provides maximum protection. Castrol GTX, drive hard. By Visa, the preferred card of NASCAR. Visa, it's everywhere NASCAR fans want to be. By the Home Depot, the official home improvement warehouse of NASCAR. And by Chevrolet. Chevy, we'll be there.
Back at Pocono as the pace car heads off the racetrack, and we get set to go back at it at the 200-mile mark. The green flag waves. Now it is Jeff Burton who is out in front, leading for the first time all day. He brings the field up to speed down towards turn number 1.
Bit of a surprise to see it running this well in the race this morning. They were not all that optimistic about that. Whoa, look at this going into turn 1.
Challenge for the lead.
Yeah, it's gone.
And looking right there in fourth place, Johnny Benson in that solid white car. No sponsorship, but he has been amazing this year as he goes by Steve Park down the back straightaway, trying to get in the third spot.
Dale Jarrett to the point. Not yet officially, not till he comes back to the start-finish line. And we've seen here at Pocono 2 and 3 lead changes in a lap before.
Trust me. He's spurring that boy pretty hard right now.
We're talking about Burton's car. The problem that they've had with it here since coming to Pocono is it just doesn't want to cut in the middle, and no matter what they did to it, they couldn't get it to go through the middle of the corner, and that will really hurt you here at this racetrack.
Here comes Rusty Wallace. He was one of the cars that stopped a moment ago under the caution. Remember, the first handful did not. Jarrett, Burton, Park, Benson, Bobby Labonte, and Matt Kenseth stayed on track under this last yellow. Ricky Rudd was first off pit road of those who did stop, and he runs in 7th position, trying to jockey his way through.
And Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace buck gapped in down the back straightaway. Now Rusty looks to the inside towards the tunnel turn here.
This would be for 9th position. And by. Nah, maybe not for long. Here's Earnhardt going to come back on him off the tunnel turn.
He's feisty.
How many times have we seen that here at Pocono?
And everywhere else. Earnhardt just cannot stand to be passed. Oh, look at the wiggle in that tree. Fella gets by Earnhardt. He's almost certain to see Earnhardt trying to get back by him.
His teammate right there is actually pushing him down the front straightaway. That's contact at 200 miles an hour.
That's fine as long as the front wheels are straight, but you have to start turning those wheels into the corner. He better be back off you.
Pretty brave stuff.
Earnhardt goes wide off the corner there, but gets good drive off the corner. He's still working on Rusty Wallace as they go down the back straightaway.
Rusty is 9th, Earnhardt is 10th, Skinner's 11th. That's Bill Elliott, front of the frame there. He's in 8th position. And you see Ricky Rudd just sneaking out of the picture. Rudd in 7th spot. Rudd, the first of those who made pit stops under this most recent caution. We just passed the 200-mile mark now. Let's take the entire field and show it to you in the upper left of your screen as Dale Jarrett is out in front now, the 8th different driver to lead laps in this event. Johnny Benson, spectacular run so far here today. We'll talk more about Benson's team in a minute and the situation that surrounds them a little more in detail. There's Bobby Labonte, the championship leader, having a solid run, and Matt Kenseth up into 6th position. Rudd been very strong all race long. Rusty Wallace led the first 3 laps of the race. Then from laps 40 to 69, Dale Earnhardt shuffled all the way back as far as 35th when a lug nut hung on a pit stop earlier. Then came all the way back up to lead. Now he's trying to pick his way back up through traffic. Bobby Hamilton started way back in 38th position. Earnhardt Jr. started last in the backup car. Greg Bodon and Michael Waltrip having solid days as you watch Earnhardt Jr. try to pick his way up another spot. And really the story as we look through the rest of the field would be those you'll see on the very last page of our 200-mile rundown. John Andretti, Sterling Marlin, Mark Martin all went out in the first 100 miles of the event with engine failures. Their problems a result of the first 3 cautions of the 4 that we've had in the race. The 4th one for a Mike Bliss spin at lap 76 off turn number 3.
I hope whatever that was on the racetrack was something soft, but there was debris on the racetrack down the front straightaway there.
Park having a great run in the 4th spot. That yellow Pennzoil car just coming into your picture here. That's his career best finish ever. Steve Park, 4th.
See 4 caution flags. So far, 11 different lead changes. Rusty Wallace, Jeremy Mayfield, Jeff Gordon, Bill Elliott, Bobby Labonte, Dale Earnhardt, and Jeff Burton and Dale Jarrett are those who have led laps so far through 200 miles. We talked in our pre-race coverage before today's race that Pocono's tough on engines. It has been one of the headline stories of the race so far. Lap 25, 26 for Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin out at lap 31. Same thing, same spot on the racetrack. And John Andretti down the Long Pond straightaway. The second longest of the 3 straights here at Pocono. The engine going out from underneath his machine. Very, very demanding place on equipment. And the funny thing is, last time we were here in June, all the engines blew up in the last 100 miles. So far, we've lost 3 in the first 100 miles of today's race. 85 and 200 laps complete. Dale Jarrett leads the Pennsylvania 500 presented by America Online. Live coverage on TBS continues in just a moment. Back at Pocono Raceway as TBS continues its coverage of NASCAR and the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Here come the leaders off turn number 1. It is Dale Jarrett out in front of Jeff Burton, Johnny Benson, Steve Park, and Bobby Labonte. There you see the top 5. as Jarrett leads this Pennsylvania 500 just after 200 miles in. This race, in particular, has had quite an effect on Dale Jarrett's career. It was back in 1995. He was driving for Robert Yates, subbing for the injured Ernie Irvan. Gotten to a point in the season where folks just plain out were questioning whether Jarrett could get the job done. Came to this race, got his first win of the year and his first win for Yates. Stopped all the speculation, stopped all the questions about his ability to win. And it went from that point to where by the end of the season, Robert wanted to form an entire new team around Dale Jarrett, the one that he is riding in now, that went on to become NASCAR Winston Cup champions.
Yes, and he and Todd Parrott just get along so very well. They may start the race a little bit off, but as the race goes along, he and his crew chief just absolutely work miracles. When they have a bad day, they finish in the top 5.
One of the miracles that they work is many of the drivers and crew chiefs here decide that they're going to try and get the car really, really good in one corner or another. DJ and Parrott have decided they're not going to give up anything at all. They just keep working on that car until it's fast in all 3 corners. It's a decided edge because they can do that.
The third car in that line is Johnny Benson, the plain white number 10. We touched on the story a little earlier. Want to get into it a little deeper now. Benson's team and its sponsor for the season had an agreement to disagree. There were some financial difficulties involved. The team owner, Tim Beverly, took the sponsor decals off the car at Daytona basically, and then sold the team on Thursday to MB2 Racing, the team that owns the Ken Schrader car, and they will become the second operation for Schrader's group. Next year, 2001, they already have a sponsor lined up for Benson in that car. The problem is they don't have anything on it for the rest of this year and don't want to hurt Schrader's racing effort by trying to run 2 cars on one sponsor's money. So if they can't find some backing for the rest of this year for Benson's car, they may not run any farther than the Indianapolis race 1 week from this coming Saturday. I talked with Jay Fry, the general manager of the team, this morning. He said they're working on some things. They're hoping to have something. They would hate to shut this team down and not finish the year because they're running so well, but they already do have a sponsor in place for 2001. Just need to find something to help them through the rest of this year.
Alan, and if somebody's really wanting to find out right now what it's like to sponsor a good Western Cup team, they could get on there for a couple of weeks and experiment and find out whether they would like to be a sponsor. Because this car has dazzled the racing world this year. Almost won the Daytona 500, leading right down to the end. Got forced up on a restart there, but he's been in contention to win several times this year.
Johnny Benson running in 3rd position now. Marty Snyder is in his pit.
And this team has been impressive all year long. 17th in points, running 3rd right now. James Ince is his crew chief. James, what's he said on this run? The car looks pretty good.
Well, right now the car is pretty good. I think the only trouble we've really got right now is that the car's white, we don't have a sponsor on the hood. So we're trying to be patient at the moment and to keep ourselves in a position at the end. We're in our gas window, so if it goes green, we're pretty happy with what we got.
And remember, in June, he ran in the top 10 most the whole day, and then he had a blown engine there at the end of the race. But Johnny told me this morning, you watch, we're going to surprise some people today.
Johnny Benson having a great run here at Pocono today in 3rd position after 200 miles of the 500.
Got his first career top 5 here at Pocono and has consistently been a strong racer here. But look at this battle for the lead right now between DJ, Dale Jarrett on the 88 car, Burton right behind him. Burton has been trying to size him up. He's run up and down on the racetrack trying to find some place that he's a little bit faster than Jarrett. So far, he hasn't found it.
Jeff Burton particularly been running high down in turn number 1. That was the 2nd corner, the tunnel turn, if you will. So named because that's where the access tunnel to the infield runs under into the track.
And that's also Burton's very favorite part of this racetrack. You get him to talk about the tunnel turn, you may have a 30-minute conversation with Jeff Burton.
Here he comes.
Yep. And that's off turn 3.
Back in the draft. Couldn't quite get alongside.
He says when he gets that tunnel turn just right that he could really get a guy set up and get him on the bottom. Maybe he can do that right now with Dale Jarrett.
See if he goes back to the bottom or if he stays in that upper lane that he's been running. Yep, way out wide.
Way wide there, but he gets good grip there in the center part of the corner. And what he's doing right now, he's not putting a lot of pressure on the tires. He's letting the car roll through the center part of the corner. You see what great runs he gets coming out of the corner, though, by running that higher line.
Here comes that number 2's corner. Terrific ride. Jeff Burton running in 2nd, Dale Jarrett, the race leader. Elliott Sadler, sophomore driver, running the Wood Brothers car, back in 33rd position. Jump on board with Elliott here for a minute and look at our telemetry.
Yeah, that's not so bad. 8,100 RPM. That's kind to the engine. We'll see what happens at the end of this straightaway.
Yeah, that was between turns 2 and 3. Here comes the tough one right here.
Yeah, this is where they really wind him up. Let's see if we see the number 9 for 9. Yep, there it was. Just a little flash.
Look at the miles an hour over there, though. 196.
Yahoo!
And you wonder why we have a lot of engine failures at Pocono. That's it. So Dale Jarrett continues to lead. Jeff Burton, Johnny Benson, Steve Park, and Bobby Labonte. 94 laps completed, approaching halfway in the Pennsylvania 500. Back at Pocono Raceway with a sellout crowd looking on. The Pennsylvania 500 presented by America Online. Maybe engine failure number 4. Kyle Petty is slowed on the racetrack. He is coasting around. That is out in turn number 2 or inside of turn 2. They're trying to communicate with him and get him to turn in off the racetrack somewhere on the backside because he'll never make it back around to pit road without power.
That was a bad sign when the guy on top of the war wagon there in the pits was putting his radios up in a plastic bag. That's pretty much it when you see him doing that.
And Kyle's gloves are off as well. They're all done.
And he made the turn in behind the guardrail on the short straightaway between the second and third corners, and so we will stay under the green flag. Now, Jeff Burton has been all over Dale Jarrett trying to get the lead. He's going to try it again off turn number 3.
Got a great run. He did this just a little while ago. He got all the way up, took the lead by the flag stand, but going down to turn 1, Jarrett just powered right back by him just like he did again.
Well, Burton just can't stay down in the bottom.
Let's go back to the race for the 5th and 6th positions. Dale Earnhardt trying to power his way back up through the field. He runs in 6th behind Bobby Labonte in 5th. Ricky Rudd is there in 7th.
He got by Ricky Rudd just a little while ago, but Earnhardt has really turned it up a notch for the last little bit. He's passed several good race cars, and the car is excellent through the corners. As you can see, left side right up on the rumple strips as he tries to put Bobby Labonte another spot back.
How'd you like to try to defend against Earnhardt? You look in your rearview mirror, and he's on the right of you, then he's on the left of you, then he's right in your back bumper. You just never know where he's going to try and get you. Right now, it's on the outside of Bobby Labonte.
It's on the outside off of turn number 3. That's not something we see often here at Pocono.
No, and he made his stick. He pulls right on by. But, of course, Bobby Labonte leading in the points right now. I'm sure he has the big picture in mind, but so does the guy just in front of him. Only 45 points back. So that's pretty extensive what they're doing right now, racing each other. I'm sure they want to clear each other and maybe put a little distance between.
Napa Field summary, upper left of your screen as we approach halfway. And still, Dale Jarrett fending off Jeff Burton's try. Now, believe it or not, Burton has led 2 out of the last 4 laps at the start-finish line. But Jarrett keeps coming right back.
Yeah, he just can't hang on to it. He can get by Jarrett in the 88 car, but Jeff Burton, who we're looking back at right now from the lead, can't hold on.
I think Jeff Burton has a better 150-mile-an-hour car, where the 88 is a little better at 200 miles an hour at the far end of the front straightaway.
Crossed flags being shown to Jarrett and Burton halfway through the Pennsylvania 500 as those two continue fighting for the lead. Now, we're at lap number 100. Jarrett and Burton were in at lap 69. They should be able to go about another 10 laps before they'll have to pit again if we don't see a caution. 40 laps being about the range that they can go.
You're watching Jeff Burton here a couple of weeks ago. They had a special night for his crew chief, Frank Stoddard, at Thunder Road Speedway in Vermont, where Frank came out of, and it was really neat to see a crew chief standing there signing autographs and the big long line of people that stood there just waiting for Frank's autograph. He is an absolute hero back in Vermont where he came from, and why not? He does a great job with that number 99 car.
Little perspective there for you on the top 10 running order. Here comes Jeff Burton, going to try off turn 3 once more. Not this time. Back in line. Marty, go ahead.
Well, perhaps the only reason Dale Jarrett did not win here in June was this little piece. This holds in the rear sway bar. And about this point in the race, Jarrett's car got extremely tight. And what happened was they could not free it up. They tried and tried and tried to free it up. But at the very end of the race, they finally got it as loose as DJ wanted it. When they got the car back to the shop, the rear sway bar pin had broken and the rear sway bar came unhooked, therefore making DJ's car very tight. Very difficult to win a race if you're planning on the rear sway bar being hooked up.
You better believe it, because that changes the roll center of the car. And I imagine he had not only two hands, but both his feet were up on the steering wheel at times there near the end.
Looking at Dale Jarrett's record here at Pocono Raceway, and it is indeed a very good one, particularly in the recent years. Jarrett's last Pocono finishes are this: third, first, third, fifth, third, second.
Not bad.
Wow, that's pretty good. Here's a guy having a terrific day, Steve Park, driving the Dale Earnhardt Incorporated machine. Started 10th, he's running 4th. He's been in the top 10 just about the entire race.
I'm looking at Earnhardt's back bumper there. It's got a little bit of damage on it. Somebody's been pretty hard into the back of him there, just in front of him. He owns the race car that he's trying to catch right now, Steve Park's car.
Been a pretty solid racetrack for Steve Park across his Winston Cup career. He's finished no worse than 15th in his 3 starts here. Mike Hogwood can add more for us on Steve Park.
That 15th place finish came back in June, and since then they have done a lot of work on this race car, on the chassis, and they really feel good about the way it's running today. But they have had some near misses. Early in the race, Steve Park radioed in, felt a bad vibration in the car. Turns out they had an unbalanced tire. Then you know about the pit road incident where Dale Jarrett kicked the car back out on, and they missed having a penalty. So it's been a couple of good breaks for Steve Park today. He's running in the top 5. This crew feels this might be their day.
Let me tell you one other good break that Steve Park has gotten. That's the fact he's got Paul Andrews as his crew chief. Andrews has won here with 3 different drivers: Jeffrey Bodine, Alan Kowicki, and Jeremy Mayfield. He surely knows how to win at this racetrack.
And again, Steve Park running in 4th position right now, trying to hold off Dale Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd, who are 5th and 6th. Still Dale Jarrett holding off Jeff Burton for the race lead, just past halfway in the Pennsylvania 500, presented by America Online.